Hi there! Welcome to One Tired Teacher, Episode 18, Integrating Technology into the Primary Classroom. On today's show, I sit down with Brandi, a second grade teacher from a Title I school in Oklahoma City Public Schools. Brandi shares an inspiring story about how Apple has come into their school and transformed it into a one-on-one school for kindergartners through sixth grade, and has included 3 years of professional development support and beyond. Now that is how you integrate technology. The tools and strategies she has learned through 3 years of professional development with Apple are going to blow you away. You won't want to miss a minute of it.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Devery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Devery.
Hey! So I am super excited about today's guest, Brandi. She's a second grade teacher, and I spent over 12 years in second grade, and I also had one-to-one iPads from a grant that I received the last 6 years of my career. So this teacher rejuvenated me and really woke me up. Sometimes you forget about the really inspiring things that fueled your passion and make you tired in the best way. So before we begin, I want to remind you that we are currently on a series about high engagement in the classroom. If you missed my fantastic conversation with Chris Kessler from Kessler Science in episode 15, or my exciting and hilarious conversation with Alexis Sergi from Math Mojo from episode 16, or even my thoughts on how we can utilize cell phones for the power of good in episode 17, be sure to go back and take a listen. I would love to hear from you and know what you're thinking about this high engagement series. I would appreciate your feedback so much. Leave a rating and review. And I know this isn't easy from your phone, but what you have to do is click on the search on the magnifying glass, which is on the bottom right. Then type in One Tired Teacher. When you see my show, click on the thumbnail of my show. Now scroll all the way down to the bottom, right above the You Might Also Like section. It will say write a review in purple letters. Click on this, and here's where you can rate the show and write a review. Apple definitely does not make this easy, so if you take the time to do this, I will be ever so grateful, and I might just give you a shout out on the show. And hit subscribe while you're at it, so you don't have to miss a thing. All right, let's wake up and start talking about technology integration in the primary classroom. So hi, Brandi. I'm so glad to have you. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
So I'd like for you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a teacher. I've been a second grade teacher. This is my 6th year, and we are in year 4 of one-to-one iPads at our school. So a lot of what we do is technology-based and creating with our iPads, which is really fun.
That's so cool. Yeah. Brandi and I are on a group together, and somebody asked a question about technology, and that's kind of how we have connected. And what you wrote completely resonated with me, because I used to have, I had second grade forever, and I had a one-to-one iPad as well. And I was like, oh my goodness, somebody else is doing this. And like, it's, because I felt like it was 2011, I think, when I got the grant, and I used the iPads in my classroom until just a year ago, 2 years ago. I left the classroom and I was like a student support specialist. So then I didn't have the iPads in my classroom obviously anymore, but we had taken such a step backwards almost in technology. Like I was doing all kinds of cool stuff. Like I was having the best time with my kids, but we started doing these like program based things where that's all they were doing with technology. And so when I saw your response, I was like, oh, I have to talk to her.
Yes, we strive to go beyond just, hey, here's a program, to allow the kids to be creative and have that creative freedom. And even when we're assessing something, okay, how do you want to show me you know this? And then they kind of know what apps they know, and they know it's going to work with what they're doing. And just having the freedom to use the app that they feel is going to just show us what they know and be able to display their learning with digital technology.
That's so cool. Tell me about some of the apps that you're using, that you've used.
Okay. This is fun. Just this week, we've used ChatterPix together with Clips. We're building fractions. So they're using ChatterPix to develop each individual fraction, and then they're going to put them all together in a Clips, like longer video. Flipgrid we use a lot. We've done some iMovie, but I prefer Clips. It's just a little bit more second grade friendly.
Yes.
Green screen has been something we've really, last year and this year, we've really kind of taken off with.
That's so
and
cool.
Of course, we have a couple programs as well, but we try to allow them the creative freedom.
Yes. What have you done with green screen? Like, that sounds fun.
In our curriculum, every 3 weeks we have a reader's theater built into it. So we use a lot for that. They'll make puppets or they'll become the characters themselves and do it that way.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then we just recently read a story on John Henry, and the skill was analyzing character. So they drew a picture of him, and then they basically the green screen became their picture of him, and they stood in front and described John Henry to us. So they had to analyze him and tell us what he believed in, things of that nature. Yeah,
like his character traits and things like that. And how he's overcome obstacles. Yes, that's so cool. I love that. That's fun. I did green screen as well, and it was the same kind of thing with like story elements. But I used it in I had a project-based learning challenge, and so we did a lot of stuff with that. But this was so long ago. Like it feels like forever ago. And we didn't even have Clips when I had the iPads. All we had was iMovie. Like Clips, that's more recent, isn't it? Because I learned that at a technology conference last year, I think it was. Yeah.
I started using it last year. I think it was fairly new at that time.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this would be so great in the classroom, so much easier. Although the iMovie on the iPad seemed like a little easier for them than like iMovie on my Mac. That's a little harder.
The iPad, the problem I had is there are so many extra features they could put in. Like they could make the frames move in differently. That a lot of times they were getting distracted by all the extras that iMovie adds, and Clips is much more straightforward. There's not all that extra cinematics that you can put in. So they're really getting more to the meat of what they're presenting.
Yeah, like the content.
The extra things, yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. So tell me, how important to you is integrating technology?
Very important. The other day, the internet was down for like an hour in the morning, and I'm like, that changes everything that we were going to do this morning.
Yes.
Because there are certain programs they couldn't get on, and we were filming our green screens. I'm like, well, that's going to have to wait until it gets back because they've got to put those into the Google Drive. And it's just such an integrated part of our learning that when something happens, like we don't have internet, there are some apps we can use without internet, but a lot of them do require an internet connection. So it's just, it's so much part of what we do that if we don't have it for some reason, it's a big problem.
Yeah, it feels like it handicaps you. Do you have to always have like a plan B?
It doesn't happen very often that we lose internet.
Good. That's good.
We've been 4 years with iPads, and I think it's maybe been 2 or 3 times. So It hasn't been very much at all. We actually got our grant for our iPads from Apple, so they came in and revamped our internet as well.
Oh, that's great. That was huge.
Part of the grant was that there was going to be an internet because we're a school of 650 kids and everyone has an iPad. So
that's
Wi-Fi
amazing.
has to be pretty extraordinary to be able to handle that many devices going at once.
Yes, that is so cool. How did you do that? Like, how did you even get involved in that? That's crazy.
1 year, Apple did a grant that they called the Connect Ed grant. And I wasn't even at the school at the time, but my principal and a team of people hopped on that and applied for it, and we were the only ones in Oklahoma to get it.
Wow.
And so Apple came in. We had, I think, almost 20 days of Apple professional development where they came in and taught us.
Oh, my goodness.
And they really supported us through a 3-year long process. They've just recently kind of let us go and We've had less professional development this year. It almost feels odd. It's like, where's our Apple people? What are they going to teach us instead?
Then that's totally the way to integrate technology, though. That's exactly
it was
like that's what it
fabulous because
takes.
we had that support when we were scared and didn't know quite how to use it.
Yes, because I think that, don't you feel like that happens a lot for teachers when they get intimidated by the technology?
Yes, and I feel like that's a lot of times why they're not as willing to be creative, and they stick very much to, well, my district has bought this program, so this is what my kids get on the iPad for. That's great, and those programs allow differentiation on the level that you can't as a classroom teacher, but you can do so much more with them. Like, the creative ability is amazing.
Yeah.
If you look into those different apps and look into ways that they can really create and build masterpieces with it. They're constantly astounding me by the things that they do when I expected this level, and then I look at their final projects and I'm like, wow, that's a step above what I was even thinking would happen.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. That's incredible. What are some other things that you all do? Like, tell me like what a day in your classroom looks like. I feel so fascinated. I'm serious. Like, I love this because when I did the grant, it was me by myself. There was only 10 people in my district, and I actually was in a school of, at that time we had like 1,000 kids. Now they're like at 1,300. But at that time we had 12 second grade teachers. And yeah, it was a lot on one team. It was crazy. And I was the only one on the team that had iPads. I was the only one in the school. Like, it was a district. It was district wide. Only 10 teachers got it in the whole district, which we're a huge district, and only 2 elementary school teachers. So I felt very blessed. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, because it was crazy. It was incredible. And I did have support. Like, I had a technology person, and I also had like a curriculum person. I felt like at the time I was like, I felt like a little bit hovered over, and I had just finished my master's at Full Sail, where I'd gotten an like educational and technology and media design master's degree, and I was like, let me just do it, like just back off a little bit. But now when I think back, like, I wouldn't have even been able to do some of the things I did if they weren't there, because we had multiple groups going on, and we were using Schoology, and we were doing all this like stuff in a learning management system. And if they hadn't been there to support me in the beginning, like, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it, but I would have just learned through failure, which is fine with me too. Anyway.
Yeah, it does help to have that support.
Yeah.
And it's really cool for the whole school to have it too, because a few years ago, like, one of the teachers is like, hey, we're using this app called Prodigy. It's really cool. The kids love it. It's a lot like Pokemon. So they just think it's super fun, even though they're doing math. And because they were using it and they started using it, we're like, okay, well, we'll try it. So a lot of times one of the teachers will find something, we'll try it with their class, and it kind of helps to work out some of the kinks.
Yeah.
Or if you're working with an app and you come up with problems, you send out an email, hey, who works with this app? I have a question. Like, I've got a kink. And then you can go to that person and just have that support. So beyond just our professional development, like, we have a network of teachers at our school too. And we're all kind of using different apps and doing things differently. So we always have someone to reach out to, I feel like.
That's incredible. Like, that's so empowering as the teacher and for the students. And talk about engagement. They must be like over the moon.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. So I want to know about a day in your classroom. Like, what does it look like?
Okay. So we do literacy centers through the Daily 5 approach in the morning. So they'll come in, whatever we have for morning work. It's kind of different every day. And then once we actually get started with our day, the Daily 5 centers are Read to Self, which those are actually books they have to hold, because I don't want everything to be technology based.
Yes.
So when they do Read to Self, they're actually reading books. Read with a friend, those are physical books as well. But listen to reading, we have an app called Myon that has books, and it will read it to them and highlight the words as it goes.
Oh, that's cool.
It's great for our low-level readers that just aren't able to read as much, because it gives them that support. Epic is another great ebooks that some of those read it to them and some of them don't. But Epic is free, and Myon is a paid app that our district pays for.
I was just going to say that. So Myon's paid and Epic is free.
Yes.
I'm gonna link to those just so people can find them.
Yeah. Those are ones that we use for listen to reading. And then writing, they have to write. Because that's important too.
Yeah.
And then word work, it kind of depends. At different points in the year, we do different things.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the beginning of the year, they're working through the Dolch sight words.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of like building with letter tiles. We do Sentence Maker, which is a free app that's just basically it gives you a whole bunch of words and you have to put them together to form a sentence.
Cool.
That's one of the ones we do at the beginning of the year when we're still working on how sentences are structured and things of that nature. I have the Osmo device, or the Osmo. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
So a lot of my lower level kids are on that right now because it requires that it gives them a picture and then they have letter tiles that they have to arrange in front of the iPad to spell the word. So that's really good for them figuring out what sounds each word makes, or not each word, what sounds like the letters make.
Yeah.
I have to find those letters and put them together to build that word.
Yes.
So that's a really great one throughout the year for your students who are struggling with that decoding skill. So word work just kind of changes. Sometimes it includes technology, sometimes not.
Yes.
But those are the basic centers that they do throughout the room. And then when they meet with me for guided reading, sometimes they have actual books in front of them. But through our reading program, we also have the ability to assign them books digitally.
Oh,
so sometimes
wow.
they have digital books that we're working with, and sometimes it's physical books. It just kind of depends on what's in the digital library, if it goes with our skill nicely, or if we have books from we have a guided reading room. So if we have books from the guided reading room, we get those as well. So that's kind of what literacy looks like. That's for the first about 60 minutes. And then writing is usually pretty pencil paper. Social studies, we have studies weekly, and they do have an online aspect of that. So that's not our whole social studies. We do a lot of project-based and social studies as well.
That's cool.
But that's technically our curriculum. But a lot of our social studies integrates technology. We did a Native American unit in November where they studied different tribes and groups. So that was really cool. They read actual books, but they were in a Google Doc all together. So I kind of put the bones of the research and what I wanted them to look up in the Google Doc. And then they could all be on their own iPads typing in, or they could have one person be a note taker. But they could all be linked together so that they could be taking notes simultaneously, which is
collaboratively. Really cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I used Google Docs a lot. I love Google Docs. So, do you have Google Classroom? Do you work?
I don't use Google Classroom. We're piloting Schoolwork this year, which is the Apple version of Google Classroom.
Ooh.
So we're piloting it for them.
Ooh, I've never heard of that before. It's called Schoolwork?
Schoolwork.
Oh, wow. And that's something new that they're doing.
It's new. They I think this summer they launched it. So this is our first year as a school with that. So it's similar to Google Classroom in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm so glad they're doing that, actually. Like, yes. I think
because it just syncs with everything a little bit nicer.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and I loved my Google stuff, but my district at the end was like, you couldn't have, they took the iPads, like they took all iPads out of the classroom. They couldn't take them from the teachers. I know. Isn't that terrible?
Terrible.
Couldn't take them from the teacher that, like, because it was a grant, they couldn't take mine when that time came, thank goodness. But then they took them, and then they also banned Google. Like you couldn't use anything Google. You had to use OneDrive. It just blew my mind. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, first of all, Google is a free thing. You can use, you totally can use that. That doesn't make sense that you would ban it, that you wouldn't be allowed to use it. And then to take iPads, I don't know. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was hard. So you you obviously probably use them for math because there's like a ton of apps for math.
Yes, we do. Math, we don't have a curriculum at the moment. Well, we kind of have a curriculum at the moment. They have adopted a curriculum but have not purchased it yet. So next year we will have a math curriculum. So at the moment, math is we've worked together as a team. There are 5 second grade teachers on our team. So we've worked together to pull resources and projects and things of that nature. So a lot of our math is more project-based, which was what I was talking with you about. Our fractions is what we're doing right now. Yeah. So they're using Chatterpix, and then they're taking the individual fraction Chatterpix things and putting them together in Eclipse. So cool. They have to partition fractions, and then they also have to do fractions in groups. Wow. So they're doing a Chatterpix of 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4. So they're doing 6 altogether because they're doing the groups, and then they're doing the partitioning fractions and putting them together in like a long video. Like, this is everything I can do with fractions. So a lot of the freedom we have in not having a curriculum is that we can pull in those types of things. Yes. And we'll still try to pull them in next year, I'm sure. But
yeah, because
we have a little bit more freedom because we can do whatever we want to at the moment.
Yes. It's kind of, I think that's fun, especially when you have the resources, like you have the technology and you guys have the skills to use. Like it doesn't make you feel like you're like, you don't go crazy because you don't have the curriculum right in front of you, as opposed to like in most schools, you're
you don't have to print a million worksheets just to make it light.
Yeah, just to make it doable. I do remember that too. I did feel that way. Like I always had a backup because I always had the iPads. And even if I wanted them to use them as whiteboards because of the drawing apps and stuff like that, I could be, and it just made it so much easier for me, in my opinion. I don't know what I would have done without them.
Yeah, we don't get our whiteboards out very often at all anymore because we have a whiteboard.
Because you have a whiteboard. And you don't have to get marker all over you. And so, what about you were saying the books on the iPads? Like you want them to still read like you were calling them normal books, which I think just sounds funny. So, I know, like normal books, traditional books. What are your thoughts on them reading on the iPad or getting used to that kind of format?
I feel like that's very much the way technology is going. Mm-hmm. And our libraries are great in Oklahoma City. We have a lot of physical books still, but there's a huge ebook library as well.
Wow.
So that's part of what we do is we do show them, hey, you can go to the library and you can check out ebooks. Mm-hmm. You can have those on your devices, or we also have physical books. But I want them, especially in second grade when they're so early, they're still becoming readers. I want them to have that physical copy in front of them and still learn how to turn pages, and that might just be because I love books.
No, I totally agree.
I feel like that's such a powerful thing still. Yes,
it is.
Technology and the digital resources, they need to know how to use it, and they need to get used to that. But physical books are also powerful. So there's always with technology that balance. Mm-hmm. Like we do writing is almost all pencil and paper. We do some typing in second grade, but it's mostly pencil and paper still because they still need to learn how to hold a pencil and get the fine motor skills out. We can't do everything technology. It's wonderful and it opens up so many avenues for us. Mm-hmm. But there is that balance that you kind of have to watch and make sure we're not on the screens 5 hours a day, that we are still letting our eyes adjust to life.
Yes, that makes total sense. I mean, and you're still doing it in such a collaborative way though as well, so at least there's that element that's still happening. And like people complain about technology taking away from like a personal element or like making kids not being able to communicate anymore. But I feel like when you're doing things like you're talking about, like you're doing groups of work and they're working collaboratively on a document and then they're coming together and presenting it on a digital format, like they still have to interact. They're still communicating.
Oh, absolutely. So they're not stuck on the device.
Yes, all alone by themselves.
And then we're off it and we're talking.
Yeah. And I totally,
a management thing. You have to have good classroom management because they have to be good digital learners.
Yes.
And every year at the beginning of the year, before they even touch their iPad, we do digital citizenship lessons, which is so important. Just how are we going to use them in our classroom? We stress iPads are not for games. We're not here for games. Mm-hmm. We learn on our iPads. iPads are for learning because you're at school to learn. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we go over like cyberbullying and all those normal digital citizenship things. But it's a constant learning process throughout the year. But there's a good month where we don't touch iPads at the beginning of the year because we're getting all that
and routines
curriculum
and, all that
and our routines. And iPads don't become a part of our life until we get that digital citizenship in, because it's a very important piece of who we are.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think some people forget that sometimes especially when you're new to like having one-to-one. And I think that's an important thing to remember. But it must be nice having your whole school have them, because you probably, now that they've been, you said it's been a couple of like 3 years.
This is our 4th year. Yeah.
Your 4th year. So now you're getting kids that are coming up that have done this in kindergarten and 1st grade. So that must make a huge difference.
It does. And we have like a rock star kindergarten teacher that does so much amazing things with them. And it's getting to the point where I could tell which kids were in his class just by some of the things they're able to do that the others don't have any idea. He has them doing basic coding on robots in kindergarten.
Wow.
And we do coding in my class as well. But like the fact that they can pick it up and go because they've had a little bit of exposure, and even what's more complex in 2nd grade, they just pick it up so much easier, and they're teaching the other kids. And I'm like, you were in his class.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I was.
That's amazing. And it's so unbelievable to know that they can do that. Like that kids can do that. Yeah. I mean, I think they're so much faster than we give them credit for anyway. I mean, I remember my nephew on the iPad at like 2, and and he navigated it. Like he knew what he was doing. And I mean, I think he's a genius, but I might be a little biased. But I'm like, oh my goodness, it was really unbelievable. And then, I mean, I guess that's what they were born with. So it's just a part of their daily life. So I think kids also will take risks that adults sometimes won't. We're afraid we're going to mess it up. And I don't think they are.
They're not. They'll try. And a lot of times when I introduce a new app to them, and sometimes it's a fairly new app to me when I'm introducing it to, because so much of what we're doing is learning as we go. So I'll give them 15 minutes. I'll be like, this is the app. This is kind of how we use it. Now go see how you can use it. And they'll teach me things all the time. Like, when we're doing green screen, you can make yourself really small or make yourself really big. Awesome. How can we use this for learning? Like, let's bring it back. What reasons might we need to be really small? And they just come up with so much. It blows my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really cool. So what do you think is your go-to engagement strategy?
Well, they love Kahoot. We do have to plan carefully because pre-K is right next door to us, and they have nap time in the afternoon. So we've learned that we get very excited about Kahoot when we get the questions right, which is amazing. But we need to not do it when they're doing nap time because we get too loud sometimes. So even if that's a really easy one. Like, I'm not sure where they're at with this skill. Let me pull up a Kahoot. I can give you a 10-question kind of assessment without it really being a traditional assessment. Yeah. And I can get a spreadsheet of where they're at, and they love it and are having like so much fun with it. So that's always a good one.
I love that.
And that's pretty easy to do on the fly because so many of the Kahoots are already built.
Yes.
It just takes a couple minutes to type it in and see which one is for your grade level.
That's great. That's really great. Yeah. I didn't have that. Like, I don't remember doing that. But there's so many,
things. Another great one that's really good for exit tickets.
Kahoot is?
Flipgrid for exit
tickets. Flipgrid. Oh, yes. Explain that.
So basically, when you look at it, on the iPad from the teacher's view, it kind of looks like Brady Bunch because all their videos are like lined up together. That's what it makes me think of. Excellent for when you're a teacher and you're grading it, or you want to watch all their videos at once because you just click on them and go through them. Where in a lot of platforms, when they're uploading videos to you, even if they're using a video as an exit ticket, you have to click several times to get to each video, which could take a long time if you have 20 kids.
Yes.
So that's one of the aspects I really like about Flipgrid. It can be as short as we did, what's the difference between solids and liquids the other day? And so it was just real quick, takes me 10 seconds to answer this question, but I can look through them. Okay, who's got this? Who doesn't have this yet?
Oh, that's really cool.
So that's a really easy way to do it. And then it could be a lot more creative too. Around Christmas time, we read the Dr. Seuss's Grinch book, and one of the kids is like, what would we do if the Grinch stole the principal? And it was just like, we were having a discussion about it, and they came up with it. And I'm like, I don't know, but that's going to be our next flip good question for morning work, because that's super fun and you can be creative. So then they had like a minute to tell me what they would do if the Grinch stole the principal and how they were going to get the principal back from the Grinch.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Very creative and super fun. So it can be as easy as an exit ticket or as creative as, this is going to be the beginning of a writing prompt.
Yes.
Tell me first, and then you can listen to it back and then actually like write the story.
That is so cool. Like, I totally want to be in your classroom. You're reminding me of like such like fun things. I love when kids are learning and it's like almost by accident, because they're just having such a great time doing it.
I mean, that was just an on the fly, like,
yeah.
Said that. I'm like, that's awesome. We're totally doing that. And Flipgrid is super easy to do really quick. So like, if I wanted to do that like that day, it would have taken like 5 minutes to pull it up and make it happen.
Wow.
Which is really nice. I like things that are quick, things that I don't have to generate myself or take a long time to set up. There are wonderful like Google Slides that people set up that go through the process of a book review and things of that nature. Those are great. I don't have time to build all those.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I am doing sometimes is just on the fly.
No, but that's what we do.
Like,
that's
class kind of just takes what we do, and technology makes that a lot easier.
Yeah. That's really cool. I appreciate this conversation so much. Like, you've just given the listeners like a ton of tools to use. So I'm going to link to all those, and
they're going to be completely overwhelmed.
Well, they can pick one. Like, what would be the thing that you'd say to start with? Like, what would you start with if you just got your iPads, and something that you could start with that would not like be completely overwhelming?
I would say probably Flipgrid or Kahoot. Okay. Just because they're pretty easy to set up, they're pretty easy to go, and they're very engaging for the kids.
Mm-hmm. So you'd have like an instant win. I think that's the thing. Sometimes you need that instant win when you first are using technology.
To start small. Like, green screen is amazing. You can do so much with that. You can do so much with clips and building videos, but those are more of work up to them apps. After you're kind of familiar with the iPad, you're familiar with your students' abilities and what they can do. They're wonderful and great, but Kahoot and Flipgrid are really easy ones to start with.
Yeah, and that's how I found you, because you said that about Flipgrid, and I was like, that just sounded so cool. So I wanted to talk to you. Yeah, so that's a good one to recommend. So I was thinking, like, do you assign them each an iPad, or do they can they take them home? Do they stay at school? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so when Apple gave them to us, they kind of said we would like them to be able to take them home. And it freaked all of us out. We're like, what if something happens to them? What if they get lost? What if someone sits on it and the screen breaks? Like, we had all these fears about what was going to happen to these iPads if they went home. And so for the first year, we didn't let them take them home at all. The second year, they let the older kids take them home. The second grade's not considered older, so we didn't. So the third year, they said, okay, go ahead and try taking them home once a week. Either give them something to do on it or give them something they need to show their parents on it. So we did it, and I'm like, oh no. And then we were also worried about them not coming back, because we're like, if they don't come back, then they don't have an iPad for the day, and that's so much of our learning.
Yes.
That's going to be a problem. And honestly, it was not nearly as bad as we thought it would be.
Oh, that's so good.
I took them home most of last year, and this year we've been taking them home once to twice a week, kind of depending on if there's something I want them to do at home with them, or if they're just showing their parents they're learning. But I haven't had any break at home. I've had them be forgotten at home, but most of the time, by the time we call the parents to tell them their iPad's still at home, they're like, we're bringing it, or it's in the office already, or things like that. The parents just very much know that if their iPad's not with them, that's something that they need to try to get here. Occasionally a kid will get sick and keep it an extra day, because we're not going to go to their house if they're sick to get their iPad. But nothing has happened so far to the iPads going home.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good news.
Really
I've always wondered that, actually, because I didn't do that. but I couldn't. I mean, it was through the district, and I would have gotten, it would have been, charged to me. So, so what happens when you get a new student? Does that happen? I mean, do you have like extra iPads?
Yes, we have a couple extras in our iPad cart that we can give to a new student. There's a process of getting them assigned to the iPad and signed into everything. So it usually takes a couple days before we can actually give them an iPad and it has everything set up the way it needs to be set up for them. But we have a couple extras, and then if we need more, we have more. When we got the iPads, we also had 6th grade in our elementary building. And then since then, the district has moved 6th grade to middle school.
Okay.
So we kind of have those extra iPads that were allocated for 6th grade still in the district. So if we get a big influx of students, we still have extra iPads for
You're
them.
prepared. That's amazing. The way that you have your school has integrated technology is totally the way to do it, because you had professional development. Each child has an iPad. You're not scrambling for an extra iPad. Everybody can stay logged in to their own thing. I remember being a huge, I assigned mine. So they each had one, and it was like, number one had number one, and I did it like that. So I had that too, but I know that that's a frustration for some classrooms when they don't have them assigned or they don't have enough for all of the kids. And you guys have then you're doing digital citizenship. I mean, you're totally you're like a model school. I think that's exciting. Thank you so much for this conversation, and for you have re-inspired me. Like sometimes I forget that there are some really great things that are still going on, and I don't know, it's just really nice to hear. So
awesome.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Brandi.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Now that really is how you integrate technology into the classroom. And sadly, that isn't happening everywhere. We have expectations that teachers integrate, but we don't provide the necessary training or tools to do the job. Everything Brandi has said, from the professional development and the support from Apple, and each child having their own device, learning to use technology to enhance the learning, having a whole unit and procedure around digital citizenship, keeping it collaborative and engaging, that is what makes technology so powerful. Those students are getting a better education because of the work Apple and those teachers and administrators are doing. That is amazing. But let's not use poor resources as a barrier to providing this type of instruction. It's definitely not going to be the same, and it will require a lot more work, which stinks. But start small. Start somewhere. I have linked to all the awesome resources we both discussed. And I've even linked to some digital products that I have in my store. Some of them are interactive, and some of them are really good for reading on the iPad and for answering questions about science topics. So even if you have to start that small, choose one and see how it goes. Once again, I am wide awake, but technology discussions often do that to me. What about you? Remember to rate and review the show, and thanks again. I may need some calming tea. So until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.